Okay, so it's Harlan here. I'm here to help you out with some drawing today. Today, we're going to learn more about drawing shapes. Last time we drew sort of a bowl of fruit, and we're going to focus more with detail this week by drawing an apple. So I'm going to show you how to do that this week for Kiddy Coders. All right, so what we want to do, okay, is you want to start out with drawing a circle. Start out with drawing a circle. All right. You just kind of want to get the feel. You can kind of use your arm, sort of make it a bit sketchy to draw the circle. You can see my wrist is sort of turning around in a circular motion. Okay, so that's sort of say the top of your apple. Then from there, you want to go a bit further. You want to kind of add the base of it. And in a way, this is a lot like also drawing a face. You want to kind of create sort of a U shape, but it's going to be a little bit flatter at the bottom, okay? Sort of like that. And when I'm drawing a picture, you always also want to look for a source. You can maybe find an apple in your refrigerator or your fruit bowl, or you can look for a picture online or on your cell phone to draw, which would be pretty good too. It's better to draw the real thing, but you can also use a resource like a photograph or a picture from a magazine. All right, so at the top, you have a stem, and you have sort of like a line or a dip here, right in the middle. And you just want to let the stem come out, which is just basically a line, okay? And it has a sort of triangular top. So you want to come out wide, and then you want to slide back down with a diagonal line, sort of like that, okay? And then you can even bring the shape out a little bit more. Just sort of like a red apple. Just working on the lines, making it pretty sketchy, drawing very lightly, okay? And at the bottom, you have some curved lines that go up and down and up and down and up again, right into that apple shape, okay? All right, that's pretty good. And if I was drawing this, I would kind of think of, let me slide this down a little bit, let you see a little bit more. I would kind of think the light, at least on the photo I'm using, can't see it, but I would think the light is sort of coming from this angle. If I had like a little lamp here, the light would be coming from this direction, I believe. Okay, it kind of bounces off the ground actually, and kind of comes up here to the sides with some highlights as well, which is pretty cool. So what I would try to do as far as the shapes of the darks and the shadows, the lights and shadows, I would kind of try to draw those shapes in. Okay, and these would be sort of just abstract shapes. And I'm just sort of looking at whatever I'm drawing and trying to see, well, where's the light? I want to try to put in those highlights maybe first, okay? And it looks like there's a big glare right about here. It looks like a puddle or a splotch. Splotch. All right. Right about there. Do something like that, okay? And the same thing over here. I noticed there's a big highlight over here, so I try to plug that in too, I think, for my drawing. And then usually when you're drawing, what you have is you have like lights or your lighter tones, you have your mid tones, and then you have your very dark tones, your really, 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 really dark tones. Okay, that's basically what your drawing is composed of, your light tones, your mid tones, I could even shade that back a little bit, sort of medium tones, and then your really dark tones, okay? So once I have that in, I'm gonna look for now sort of my darkest dark colors on the apple. And I'm using a technical pencil today. I kind of like technical pencils because they have really thin leads and they're good, I think, for drawing. But you can also use a regular #2 pencil or even an art pencil that you can get from an art supply store, or you can go to your favorite maybe big chain market like a Walmart or someplace. Sometimes they have actual art supplies you can buy. They're not always the best, but some of them aren't so bad actually. Okie dokie. I'm gonna erase what I don't need here. So you kind of see the form of the apple starting to take shape a little bit, just going back in and erasing the lines that I don't really need and just fixing it up a little bit. And a lot of drawing is just taking your time and kind of seeing what works and what is not working. And if you make a mistake, that's okay, because you can always go back and can erase. Or if you have to, you can always do it over. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world, because you're learning about art. And it takes time, just like many things. All right, so I have that pretty much. And now I think I'm going to go in and I'm going to start adding in some of my darks here just with my pencil lead. I'm just shading at this point. Shading in the apple. Okay. And again, I don't want to get too dark. I've kind of got an idea. This is like a roadmap. See, what I was doing before is a roadmap to show me how to draw this apple. Okay. Okay, I'm figuring out, okay, where does everything go on this shape? Okay. And here, I think it actually dips down. It's not a perfect circle because it's an apple. So it has curves though, but the basic shape of this is like a sort of circle and even a tapered circle. You can even say a circle and almost a triangular shape at the bottom, but it sort of squares off there because it's a flat base so it can sit. Not all apples are like that, but some are. I think the red apples have a more triangular base. Okay, maybe I'll come out a little bit more even here. You can almost say, I guess, an even better illustration would be like almost a heart shape for the apple. Yeah. Okay. I didn't like that line there. To take it back a little bit. Okay. Erase here what I don't need. Over here. Okay, it's not so bad. All right. And more shading here. And again, we talked about in art, you can do what's called hatching, which is sort of what I'm doing now. I'll slide my picture down. Hatching is just going across with just lines that are close together. It can be random or it can be very deliberate, I guess you could say, or you could take your time doing it to make sure everything is even. But you know, usually just making lines. That's hatching. Now to do cross hatching, what you would do is that you would cross it like this back and forth. Okay. This would be cross hatching. You kind of build up shadow this way, just as an example. We'll get into that more with future lessons. All right. So what I did here, I'm going to shade this part a little bit more, a little bit darker, I think. Okay, and now I'll start to put in maybe some of my mid-tones here because this is not as dark here at the bottom. I think because the light is coming down that we showed before, it's sort of coming down and it's sort of bouncing up. There's a reflection here. It's sort of hitting here, it's going boom, and then sort of bouncing upward onto the apple, sort of like that, if you could see. Sort of hitting the floor or the base, wherever the apple's at, and then it's bouncing back up. So there's a lighter tone here. And that's also where you get your reflections happening. Okay. All right, gonna slide this down a little bit. All right, and in art, you can also use lots of different things. Even your fingers, your hands become tools for art. I'll go here and shade a little bit. Okay. All right, and I'm gonna shade and start darkening more. Sort of hatching a bit, cross hatching. Really showing that this area is the darker section, or these shapes are darker. And then you have your mid-tone shapes and so forth. And you can see it's starting to take on more of a three-dimensional form just because we're adding lights and shadows. Lights and shadows. Huh, that's so bad. And what I can start to do, I can start now, maybe smudging it in a little bit, even with my finger, so that I don't have such hard lines. If it's something in nature, you don't want the lines to be too hard because then it looks like it's not natural. And then you have also on these apples, you have sort of little spots. I'm doing this pretty quickly. Just I'm sort of going back in, and they're like little tiny spots on the apple. These spots are a little bit big. I'm making them a little bigger than what they actually are. But you can see on the apple, it actually has little spots on it. So I'm using my eraser to create those. And here I'm gonna go back in, erase a little more to show that highlight. Maybe make that a little brighter. Add a little bit of line there. Okay. And this probably needs to actually be the darkest part of the whole apple, the stem. So we're just going to go in, we're going to make that really dark. And use my eraser, sort of back and forth. All right. And I'm going to go down here because you also have some really dark darks. And here, a little bit of shadow. Okay. You just want to take your time with this. Have fun, as always, when you're drawing. All right, not so bad. And even with this kind of drawing, you could even go in. I like to use mixed media a lot, which means basically combining different kinds of art instruments, art materials. Okay. So let's go in. Going in and going to add a little bit of red here. Some of the darker areas. Just a red color pencil. And when I'm shading, I'm kind of trying to shade like I'm shading in curved lines or curved shape. I'm not trying to just, go across it with just maybe a straight line, because then it looks flat. I'm trying to actually capture the shape of the object when I'm shading. Just back and forth. Try to find those areas, the darkest areas. You always usually want to work from light to dark. I'm kind of like highlighting some of the dark areas now because I'm doing this quickly. I only have a short time. But you always want to start pretty light and work to go darker as you are creating your picture. You don't want to make your picture too dark to start out with, because then it's hard to erase if you have any issues, such as mistakes, and we all make them. Add a bit here. It's a lot of back and forth. Lots of repetition of line. All right. I think you kind of get the hang of it. It's getting there. I'll go back in. Try to make this a little bit darker on the stem. It's really dark here. And even the stem, you can see like there's areas of it that are a little bit darker, like on the far, well, you can't see my picture, but actually on the far right, it's a little bit darker than the rest of the stem of the apple. Yeah. You just want to start, a lot of artists just noticing things, just looking very carefully, you know, how dark is this area compared to this area and so on, or how light is this area compared to that area or this area. It's a lot of research, a lot of investigation. You're using your eyes a lot, and you're paying attention to people and nature and lots of different things. Like how large is something? How tall is something? How wide is something? All right. It's not so bad. I think that's pretty good from where we started. We could go even further with this exercise, but I'll let you guys probably have some fun doing this on your own. And hopefully you can follow some of the tips I gave you for drawing. And I hope you have an awesome rest of the day. See you next time.